The clock said it's time to close now. I guess I better go now. I really like to stay here all night. The cars crawl past, all stuffed with eyes. Street lights.
Man, Benny, 1 week you really blow us away with this video. You really outdid yourself, man. What an outstanding intro, Benny. Man, last week I said it. The week before I said it. I think 1 week I didn't. But every week, brother, you just outdo yourself. So I'm just getting Benny, slow it down, man. I don't want Steven Spielberg, any of those guys stealing you from us. Oh man, Benny, that was a
good video.
Wasn't it great, Sean?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Outstanding video. You're getting better, Benny. You're getting better.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Hey guys, listen, I know we don't have any shout outs. Well, actually, Sean, you have a shout out real quick. I think you want to talk about Chalo.
Yeah, shout out to Chalo, who is not with us tonight. His Tia passed away, and our condolences and our love and prayers go out to him and his family.
Prayers for Chalo and his family. I believe you went to Chula Vista. That's where the funeral services.
Oh, okay. All right.
But guys, we have a great show today. Looking forward to it. Hopefully a lot of police officers, a lot of relatives of police officers are watching the show. But before we do, guys, I am very excited. I know all four of us with Chalo, we're excited of what the next year, what it's going to bring. I mean, the people, the caliber of people that we have coming. And I know, Benny, every week you talk about them, but I just want to mention real quick, we got Bobby Arce. Bobby Arce, he's like the Mexican, literally 007. When he comes on in 2 weeks, you're going to be going, oh my God, this guy's been to Croatia, has been to Thailand, has been to Mexico. This guy literally is a Mexican 007. Then we got Kevin Moina, who's going to be coming in talking about internal affairs with San Diego PD, did numerous years. Usually I did 2 years. Most people do 2. This guy did like 7, 8 years in internal affairs. Great guy. We got Rick Prado. This guy's a former CIA operative. Sean, I'm reading his book right now. That is probably one of the best books. It's this thick. It's thick as your book, Benny. It's not 1,000 pages, but it's probably 900 pages. But I'm telling you, it is, man, when he comes on our show, it's going to blow all of us. It's going to blow me away having this.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, God. He's a Cuban 007. Then we got Leo Duarte. Hopefully, I'm working on bringing him on the show. He's a former SSU. Everybody that's gone through Chino knows him. Every prison gang member knows Leo Duarte. It's going to be outstanding. Then we have Mundo Mendoza coming. He's coming at our 100th episode, right, Benny?
50th
episode. He's coming on. And like I said, I know, Benny, you're going to be talking about, but I just want to talk a little bit about who we got coming. We got Tom Taylor, a referee. He does the Canelo's fights. He just did the Benavides fight. This guy is a world-renowned referee. He's going to be on our show. We got Nina Medina, the new president of the Latino Police Officers National Association. And we have Manny Rodriguez, a former chief of police, talking about what the police departments nationwide are doing through mentorship programs today. Guys, we're all booked until March. We are excited. I love our show because you know what? I get a chance to see some of my idols. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we just had Bob Ayers. We've had Devin Hawks, Brian Perry. I mean, all these dudes are guys that I looked up to, and now I'm able to see them on camera, and we're able to work with them. Benny, you're able to become best friends with them because you're the one that talks to them for hours.
For hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hours.
But guys, the show ain't about me, but I just want everybody that's watching our show to get excited with us because we got some great people coming. With that said, Benny, it's all yours, my brother.
You know, David, I get asked a lot as to who is on the photos on our intro. It's the photo where those 4 San Diego PD cops are standing next to each other in the old tan uniforms.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
David, if you go left to right, David's the number 2 guy.
Oh, they don't recognize me. Shaved head.
Yeah.
Well, you got black hair, you got a thick mustache,
That's right.
and you look super badass. I remember you from early in the days. I mean, you look pretty badass. You know, you were intimidating, very intimidating looking guy. You know.
Yeah,
So
that's what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah.
Who are the other guys to your left and then to your right? And then
You know what? I believe right next to me, to my right is Van Cruz. Him and I were partners in Logan Heights for 5 years. And Van Cruz, I'm not exaggerating, Benny. Sean can attest to it. When you think about the best sergeant San Diego PD has ever had, you know what? Van Cruz is one of them. Yeah. I am serious. That guy, he worked prison gangs, the Violent Crimes Task Force for about 10, 15 years. Right, Sean? He was there for a long time. Yeah. He's probably one of the best. The other guy next to me, a former SWAT guy, named Mark Tallman. It was Mark Tallman right next to me. Mark Tallman, he was a former SWAT guy. And then the one next to him is Bob Cristano. Bob Cristano was from New York. He worked at Rikers, one of the big prisons there, and very intelligent guy. He made his career working hate crimes. That's what he made. Yeah. He was
one of my trainees.
Was he really? Okay. Yeah, Bob was a good cop. All 3 of those guys were outstanding cops. They were all on my squad, Benny, when I first came on. And I am who I am because of those guys. I mean, those guys were outstanding. They were all pretty big boys too, except Van.
Yeah. Bob had some guns on him.
Yeah, it's like us, you know, with the sheriff, we had Joe Mace. There was a legend, Joe Mace, and then
I would have followed him into hell.
And Don Continelli, another guy. They used to call him Walking Tall. He worked the rural and the Indian reservations back in Valley Center back in the day.
Oh wow,
that guy was really awesome. I mean, you know, really good guys that I worked for. You know, outstanding.
He was your sergeant, right, Benny? The one that you always talk about.
Both of them. I actually worked for both of them.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Which was the one that you said that? They sent him back to patrol, and then they wanted to call SWAT. He goes, "Get out of here!" He went in there, grabbed the guy out of the house. Which one was the one that did that?
He was doing bad boy time out of Valley Center, and they transferred him to San Marcos, and they had a barricaded guy in a room in a apartment complex. So everybody's doing surround, and you know the typical thing, you know, let's call SWAT, code 11. You know, let's do a code 11. He goes around and says, "What? Do a what?" The code 11 says, "What the hell are we doing? Go get that!" You know. He said, "Just go out there and get the guy." And we're looking like, "Are you nuts?" Next thing you know, he walked by the side of the apartment, and the guy's standing by the window, and the window was rolled down. So he reached out and just grabbed him and pulled him out of the apartment through the window. He yanked him out. Said, "There's your code 11." You know.
It's amazing. Sometimes we roll up on stuff, and we're going to call this a code 11 or a code 10. I go, "What? No. Have you tried not calling the guy out? No. Try calling him out, and sure as shit, they call him to the house, and he comes walking right out. You know, I mean, why make it a big issue if you don't have to? You know."
Hey guys, our brother Bobby Lopez. What's up, my brother Bobby? How you doing, man? He fished with Continelli. Nice guy, he says. Is that the one you're talking about, Benny? That yanked the guy out? That's him? Yeah. Hey, Bob, ask him. Tell him that Benny remembers that. Tell him to watch the show. He's a hero.
Don passed away
2
years ago.
Oh, wow.
He rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Benny, well, let's get it, man. Let's get it on, man. Today's a really good show for police officers to watch.
Yeah, especially at this time of the year, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a lot of them are watching because this is the bad. This is one of the worst months that we get. The radio calls. People are depressed. People are upset. There's no money. There's no gifts. People start doing dumb things, and you get the domestic violence calls. It gets dangerous out there. I mean, we've all been through those hundreds, if not probably thousands of calls. Through our career. Anyway, today we're going to discuss the 10 deadly errors of law enforcement. Those 10 deadly errors were identified as being the most common and repeated reasons for officers being killed in the line of duty. These 10 deadly errors have been taught in police academies and training seminars throughout the country since the mid 70s. I mean, and all of a sudden it kind of got stopped. It got stopped. I'm not sure why, but I don't know. I don't know why they stopped because this was really
I can tell
good
you
stuff.
why. It was instilling fear in the new recruits.
So let's get started. Here are the 10 deadly errors by Sean Murphy, who is a lieutenant, as you guys know, the retired lieutenant with San Diego PD. He has extensive experience in SWAT operations and tactical operations. So take it, Sean.
Well, I wish I could take credit for them, but I can't. Yeah, they actually came from a book called Officer Down Code 3. And it was written by a former LAPD captain name of Pierce Brooks. And Pierce Brooks is probably a righteous legend on the LAPD. And he came onto the LAPD in 1948. He served almost every rank up to captain when he finally retired I believe in this mid 60s. He worked intelligence, he worked homicide, he worked narcotics, gangs, vice, robbery. One of the major events in his career was the onion field. And Joseph Wambaugh wrote the book about the onion field incident, and Pierce was the lead investigator in that incident. He was also featured in Dragnet in season 2, episode 2, called the shooting board, where Joe Friday gets in a shooting, they can't find the bullet. And there's a scene where the 2 investigators from the shooting team show up, and he's Lieutenant Pierce Brooks. He was also, in real life, he's also a technical advisor for Dragnet and Adam 12. Later on, he became a police chief in a town in Ohio, and he caused some controversy there where they had pictures of fallen officers, and the way it was written in the article that I read about this incident was everybody's looking at these pictures, and they're, that's really bad. And he made a comment saying, they're no heroes, they were dumb. And he went on to say something to the effect that police work isn't in for everybody. And it truly isn't. It truly isn't. And we've seen that through our careers. So there was a grand jury investigation. He was cleared. His tenure at that department was short, and he moved on to another department. Passed away, I believe, in the 80s. And we have the book. Now, the 10 deadly errors.
Hey, Sean, real quick. Everybody knows the show, Dragnet and all those shows, that we watch, but a lot of people don't know what the onion field is. Can you just give a real quick what the onion field was?
The onion field, I don't remember the dates. It was probably in the 50s. 2 night detectives, I think they were like Vice or something like that. They were patrolling around. They went and made a traffic stop on a vehicle. 2 individuals in the car. They got them out of the car. Long story short, they got their guns taken away from them. And one of the detectives was shot. The other officer took off running. Somehow they finally he found a house. They called it in. Officers and everybody else went back. Seamus has got it in the 60s. And they tracked down the two suspects through a long process, and he ended up doing the interviews on both the suspects, and after they got him in custody.
Yeah,
but the book, you got to read the book, and the movie is like really good.
Yeah. No, the onion field was in Bakersfield, in Kern County.
Bakersfield, right?
They were out in the county. One of the officers surrendered his weapon to two of the suspects, and then they were driven to the onion fields up in Bakersfield, North Bakersfield,
on the promise that they'd let them go,
where they were executed.
Yeah.
LAPD has a museum. I think it's on one of the old PD stations that used to be shown a lot in the 70s with Police Story. If you guys remember that
oh,
show.
Yeah. Yes, that was a good show.
That police station is still there. It's a museum, and they have a lot of like the North Hollywood shootout. They got the mannequins, the size of the guys, how big they were with everything they were wearing. But anyway, going away from the onion field, they have a special viewing of the onion field. They have video there. They have evidence. They have the guns. They have a lot of information on the onion field in one of their rooms. So it's really, if you guys ever want to go watch a really cool museum, it's the LAPD Museum. It's an old police station. And like I said, they got a lot of venues there. They got the Patty Hearst. They got the closet where Patty Hearst was put in there. They have a lot of stuff on the SLA shooting. It's really walking through history of Southern California, basically.
Hey, guys, before we get started, I want to welcome Ceci Escaño. Ceci, once again, thank you for watching us, for being a faithful watcher. We really appreciate you. Seamus Donahue, I'm sure he's going to have some great questions later on. And Myrna Thompson, welcome to the show, Myrna. With that said, guys, going back to the onion field real quick, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but did it initially start in LA and then they were taken to Bakersfield, Benny?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where they were murdered? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's where one of them was shot and killed. Yeah.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other detective survived.
He survived and ended up doing a cry for help. In other words, he started stealing.
Yeah, he started stealing and whatnot. Yeah.
I read the book and watched the movie, but it's been such a long time. And then, Benny, you introduced us to Joseph Wambach, who came on my other show. And maybe someday we could get him on this show, who wrote the book. So maybe someday we could get him on our show. With that said, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so getting back to Pierce Brooks, and he writes this book, and like Benny said, he sees things that were happening which officers were violating, basically, and it was causing injury or death. So he writes this book out. Now, you got to keep in mind, he joined law enforcement back in 1948. So back in 1948, did they have like an 18-week or a 6-month academy? Hell no. They had a short academy that handed you a revolver and a big nightstick and probably a sap, and said, go out there and take care of business. And that's what they did. But he was known to be very meticulous. And in fact, somebody asked him at one point in his life, saying, what's your favorite hobby? And he says, catching felons. I mean, he was dedicated beyond repair. So anyway, he writes this stuff, and the 10 Deadly Errors, and it was published back in 1975. Okay, and I got the opportunity to teach up at our police academy in Crimes in Progress, and this was probably about an hour portion of the class, strictly on these, and that was back in the late 80s and the 90s, early 90s, and here it is, 2023, soon to be 2024, and I can tell you, officers are still violating every single one of these today. And I can say that because there's one police program that I watch religiously, and it comes on Fridays and Saturday nights, and it's live, and I'm watching these officers dealing with possible suspects or dealing with people, and it's like, maybe I'm missing something. They let their people have we'll talk about it here in a minute on one of the topics, but things in their hands and all sorts of stuff. So let's start off with failure to maintain equipment and proficiency. This is a big one. A dirty weapon is an unhappy weapon, and it's a pissed off weapon, and it'll let you know when you need it the most. You have to maintain your equipment. You have to clean your weapon. Every time you shoot that thing, you have to clean it. As part of our SWAT guys were in charge of cleaning all the divisional shotguns and maintaining and inventorying them. And one of the divisions I worked at as a SWAT sergeant, I get a call one night. A couple of my guys are cleaning the division's shotguns, and they called me into the little armory area, and I go, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said, "Hey, Sarge, check this out." And there was a pile of cigar and cigarette ash about this high, and an O. Henry candy wrapper on top of the table, the work table. And I go, "Where'd you find that?" And they go, "In the shotgun barrel." This is a shotgun that's placed in the police vehicle. And I don't know who it was, but mopes were using it as a friggin' ashtray. I mean, what kind of, when you need that thing and you bolt out of the car and you rack around in that shotgun, you go to fire, what's the first thing that's going to come out of that stuff? This ash and whatnot. So maintain proficiency and take care of your equipment. That means everything from your handcuffs to your vehicle. I've actually watched officers go out to the parking lot, throw all their stuff in one car, walk all the way around, do pre-shift inspection, make sure everything, oh hell, I got a spotlight out. Son of a gun. So they take all their crap out, walk over to the next car and put all their stuff in there and leave that car without writing it up. Most of and that's just laziness. Take it over to the garage, you guys. Hey, the garage guys are there. Hey, I got a spotlight out. Hey, new spotlight, and off you go.
You know what, Sean, on this one, where it says and proficiency. When I first came on, the first weapon I was assigned to, what they gave me at the academy, was a 5-shooter. I think it was a
revolver.
The revolver. It was a revolver.
Yeah, it was a 6-shooter. Yeah, it was a Smith & Wesson revolver.
Smith & Wesson revolver. That was given to me. But during our academy, the chief at the time, we were the first class, or I think the second class, to be allowed to purchase our own 9mm. So I purchased myself a Smith & Wesson Model 69, I believe. I think I still have it. And as a matter of fact, I gave it to my son-in-law. He has it in Temecula. But that was my first weapon. And back then, during the academy, they would talk about different holsters. And there was one, I don't remember, Benny, since you know a lot about the equipment, you probably remember the name of that one. But this one, nobody wanted to buy it because you had to become really proficient with it. Because this is the one that when you grabbed it, you had to click it to the right and to the left, and then it would come out. But if you didn't do it right, it would stuck. You couldn't bring it out. With that said, that's it when you're involved in a fight, so they can't pull your weapon out. Do you remember the name of that holster, Benny?
Was it a Hurricane?
It wasn't a Hurricane. This one was very expensive.
Semi-break front.
It's break front, yeah, but you had what I'm trying to say is nobody wanted to buy it because they basically wanted just to grab it and take it out. But I'm telling you, I bought it. And I became so proficient when I would get home, even after I'd been on for 5-6 years, still working patrol, dude, I used to wear that holster. And I mean, I was faster than anybody that could come up with it, that didn't have to move their hand in that. I mean, I just became proficient with it. With that said, a lot of people forget that, and also going to the shooting range. I mean, don't just go for the yearly qualification shoot 3 or 4 times a year.
Yes.
Go as many times as you can, because you want to get to the point where when you come up, you're not aiming. Basically, you come up, point, and shoot, and you're right on.
Shoot. Yeah. I would ask the academy group, the recruits, you get 50 rounds of ammo every month at the range. And how many after you graduate, you're going to go down there religiously every month and shoot your 50 rounds. And I would get like 95% of the group raise their hands. And here's my response: bullshit. Okay, now you're working shift work, you're working graves. You know, if you're married and you got kids, you got to take care of the kids. You know, your weekends are precious. You know, when are you going to find the time to do it? And God love you if you have the opportunity and do that. But then, like with our range, you know, the 50 rounds kind of like, yeah, well, you know, we don't have any ammo this month, or the range is closed, or, you know, all sorts of stuff. But another example of maintaining your equipment, like you said, Dave, when we came on, we had you know, the revolver. I had a 6-inch Smith & Wesson that they handed me. And I was in my third phase downtown as a trainee. And the sergeant, we used to have weapons inspections at lineup.
Yes.
You know, surprise weapons inspections. So we had the surprise weapons inspection. Thank God I had cleaned my weapon, right? So I'm standing there, you know, got my speed loaders out and I got my revolver out and I'm standing there at attention and da da da. And there was an individual on our watch, and he was a legend. I mean, he'd been on for forever and a day. You know, his belly arrived 4 minutes before he did. He was a gruff old bastard. And he had a dump pouch. And basically, a dump pouch is when the 6 rounds are up into this pouch. They're not on a speed load where they're connected into this little device where you just quickly load the weapons. You had to actually load up by hand. And he took his ammo out and he put it on the table, the lineup table. And I'm standing there, I'm looking at them, and they were green. And I thought, well, you know, maybe this guy's Irish or something. I don't know. They weren't supposed to be green, and they were stuck together.
Wow.
Ask me if he passed that inspection.
And he was a legend, huh?
Yep.
Sounds more like a legion.
He passed the inspection. I'm thinking to myself, man, if I'm in like a major shootout and this guy shows up and he tosses me this ammo, is this stuff gonna work? You know, it was probably from WW2. Who knows? I mean, it's probably the first time he ever taken it out of the dump pouch. But stuff like that. I mean, taking care of your vehicle. You know, if it's broken, fix it. Take care of your flashlight. Make sure you have the right batteries in it. Your handcuffs. The handcuffs don't go on the shotgun barrel. And another thing that used to annoy the hell out of me is people having their handcuffs up on the spotlight handle. Yeah, that would annoy the shit out of me.
Well, I'll tell you, Sean, I was that guy that on my days off, my gun was clean and my handcuffs WD-40, and I would play with them because every night I would take them out, and if I didn't put them on 2 or 3 guys a night, dude, that was a bad night for me. With that said, Dennis Hauser, welcome to the show. That's 100% true, and I like this.
Dennis Hauser, talking about legends, Dennis Hauser is a legend, real legend. He's up in San Bernardino County, law enforcement. I believe he worked for Riverside Police, I think. I hope I didn't mess it up, Dennis. But this guy worked robberies. I mean, he really awesome detective, really, really good guy. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Benny, we got to get him on the show. We got to get him on the show, man. Here he is saying, when I started in 1983, I was issued a 4-inch Smith & Wesson Model 15-38, transitioned to a 6-inch 45 LC Model 25, carried it for 34 years.
Same for you,
Dennis.
Guys,
Benny.
Guys, see, San Diego Sheriff is very different from a lot of agencies. We are not allowed to buy our own equipment. We have to carry. Everybody wears the same stuff, the same gun. Everything is the same with our department. So we didn't have like you guys, where you guys could use a different holster or purchase a weapon. We were not allowed to do that. Everybody, when I started, it was a model 66 357, same holster, and you were not allowed to modify shotguns, modify equipment, nothing. Everything was the same.
Hey, Benny, he says he worked for San Bernardino PD, and he says that.
Yes. I apologize. Yeah.
All right.
Not only that, Riverside PD is in Riverside County. My apologies.
Yeah, definitely. All right, here we go. The next one.
Well, hold on. I got to finish on the last one.
Okay.
Another thing, and this is, I think, where the departments fail in correcting issues where you're with your equipment. Specifically, when you go to the range and you don't, back when I came on, and I think Dave, correct me wrong, Benny, you can chime in on this too. If you didn't pass a qualification shoot, there were no do-overs that night. You were basically sent back to your command, and you were on the front desk for a few days until they, you went back and passed the proficiency test, the qualifications test.
And if they failed the second time, they were fired.
Well, fired, or they were,
they
were mediated back up the academy. They sent them up to the range and have them go through the shoot and stuff. And I know of people that, especially with the shotgun. I mean, the shotgun is not everybody. I love the 870.
Me too.
And they could not manipulate that firearm if their ass was on fire. And after several attempts in one night, I know this one officer was allowed to go back out in the field. And I don't want to sound like a hard ass or a dick. I don't want that person anywhere around me or on my squad or in my division. Because when I need somebody with a shotgun and they show up and they can't do that and, manipulate that shotgun or use that weapon, I got no use for them. And I dare say there were some instances, and I got this straight from some of the guys at the range, that ranking officers couldn't pass some of the tests. I mean, that's just not right. Okay. Walk to walk and talk to talk. But any other comments from you guys on that?
No, let's hurry up, Sean. We got nine more to go. We already have
improper search or improper use of handcuffs.
What's up, JC?
Okay. Everybody that you come in contact with, you've got to pat them down, period. Okay. It's an officer safety thing. Now, if you hook somebody up, you put handcuffs on them, are they under arrest? No. If you put them in the back of your car to cool down or just to sit tight, are they under arrest? No, they're detained. If you drive the car, 5 or 10 feet, are they technically under arrest? Yeah. Okay, so you write a arrest report, you put in your report, hey, I released him out in the field, da, 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 da.
Hey, Sean, Bob Lopez, I remember when he worked the range, he was one of the best out there. He says he failed you at the range. Is it true?
He failed a lieutenant, not me.
I know.
Peachy. No.
That was a good one, Bob.
Yeah. But I will, in all honesty and transparency, I did fail the department shoot. I was shooting my Beretta, and we were shooting the metal targets, and I could not hit the metal target. And I'm watching the round go low to the left. So the second time I went through it, I aimed high to the right, and I was hitting the metal target every single time. And I walk over to the SWAT trailers, and I was bitching to them about it. And Ward Rickman goes, "You shoot a Beretta, right?" And I go, "Yeah." Well, the ammo that we were shooting at the time were reloads, and they were cheap reloads. And for some reason, with the Beretta, when they came out the end of the gun, they just tumbled. Instead of spinning, they tumbled. So, anyways. Okay, so improper search of or improper use of handcuffs. You gotta search people. And again, I'll go back to this show that I watch, and I see guys letting these guys, people that they're contacting, they've got their cell phone in their hand, they've got their keys in their hand. What the hell is that about? When you're talking to somebody, you don't have anything in their hands. They keep their hands out of their pockets, and they're walking around just like lackadaisical. They're turning their backs on them and stuff. No. You focus on what you're doing, and you pat them down, and you have the same method every single time. You start from the top, you start from one side, and then you work to the other side, you check the belt. And for some of the people that aren't in law enforcement, you would be surprised where we find contraband, we find weapons secreted on people's bodies. You know, you can't be shy. Okay. And there's one area that another man will not go anywhere near on another male, and that's the groin area. Female officers have no friggin' problem with that area. I watched some female officers when they're running their hand on, checking for weapons, and they'll just run it, and it's like a mallet on the belt. They just run their hand right up their leg and rack them right into the gonads. And I mean, sometimes, another guy, I searched there, but I didn't really get it. Hey, you got to look in their chonies and their underwear and everything. So,
guys, I know we're running a little tight on time, but I remember I was working in the jail twice. San Diego PD brought 1016, brought a prisoner into the jail, and we got guns during the search.
Well, you know what, Benny? I was going to talk about that. First of all, before I talk about that, I want to thank you, Benny, the Sheriff's Department, and I'll mention it right now. My routine, Sean, I got this from working the joint, working the prisons. For whatever reason, I mean, not too many people would do it, but I learned, I don't even know where I learned it from, but it always worked for me. No matter if I was in the joint or if I was in Logan Heights or if I was in downtown, first thing I would do if I knew I was going to pat the guy down, I would always turn him around and say, put your hands top of your head and interlock your fingers top of your head. I'd have him interlock the finger. When he interlocked the fingers, then with my knee, I would bring him down so I could get him off balance. Yeah. And then I would start from I would start from the neck area. Start from the neck area, bring him down, change hands, start with an area, grab the groin, check inside the groin, both sides, feet, everything. Then I would place the hands behind their back. Then the handcuffs came on. I always did that no matter what, no matter where I was at. If it was a fight, I mean, we couldn't do it, but it was always hands on top of your head to lock your fingers, boom, bring them down. It was a routine for me because I practiced it in the joint and on the streets. Now, Benny, where I wanted to talk about you, the sheriffs, you guys, I'm telling you, man, I remember when I was working Logan Heights at the time, or down Logan Heights at the time, we would bring our 1016s, and at the downtown county jail, you guys had the officer's wall. I forgot what it was called, the wall of shame. That's what it was called. And it was police officers, mainly San Diego PD, that would bring 1016s, prisoners with guns, with dope. And if they found it inside the cell, they would put the name and the picture of the officer. They would get it from the cameras. And dude, next day a lineup, the lieutenant would jump on them, they'll write them up. It was ugly. So for us, that wall of shame, me and my partner Van Cruz, nobody on my squad was ever on it. But whenever we found out somebody was, dude, we were on them. Because why? We did not want to be on that wall of shame. Not to forget about the wall of shame. We didn't want our 1016 later to hurt one of you guys in the county jail, Benny. So I thank you and your sheriffs for doing that, because it put us, those lazy officers, I wasn't one of them, neither on nobody on my squad, except one, weren't lazy, but dude, it put us on our heels that whenever we took a 1016, we made sure they didn't have no contraband because of the wall of shame.
Yeah. I had a partner that took a 1016 from a traffic stop, a DUI guy from a sergeant down in our division, and my former partner. I mean, he was Mr. Officer Safety. I mean, he would check everything, everybody, and he took the prisoner off from the sergeant, who will only be described as a professional asshole. But anyways, that's a different story. And on the way downtown from county jail from South Bay, this guy sitting in the back of the car going, I can shoot you, motherfucker. Got him down to county jail, got his hands up in the Sally Port, went to pat him down one more time, and they found a .25 automatic in his cowboy boot. They got the sergeant never searched him, but and I'll talk about him in a little bit too. He's got another thing, but if you want to go to the next one, or are we done with this one?
I want to read Dennis's. Great, Dennis. I'm with you 100% on this one, Dennis. I am always shaking my head at officers who know they are going to arrest someone and search first, then handcuff the guy. If you know you're going to arrest him, hook him, then search him. 100%. If I knew we were going to arrest him, dude, we jumped on him and the cuffs were on, and then we searched him. You're 100% right. And Benny confirms that with me also.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Next one. Sleepy or improper rest.
Improper rest. Okay. I don't like working graveyards. I never have. Okay. My bedtime is the latest is 11:30 or 23:30, and third watch started at 2200. So I was tired. But if you're not getting enough sleep, and things happen, we all have busy lives, and things happen during the daytime or on our off-duty time. If you're not getting any sleep, let your supervisor know that, hey, can you partner up with somebody, or get with a partner and say, hey, man, during the night, man, you just can't keep your eyes open. Get to you. Hey, anybody doing reports? Can you sit here and watch? I'm gonna take a couple, a little cat nap. Is it discouraged? Yeah, back in the day it was discouraged. You got caught, sleeping on duty. Oh man, that was like a cardinal sin. But things happen. The sergeant I just discussed, we had a guy in our squad. His mom was sick, and he's working graveyard. His mom's sick, and she lived in Phoenix. So he'd get off in the morning to go straight down to the airport, take a Southwest flight to Phoenix, spend all day with his mom, and then come back and work that night. And for the first week or week and a half, it was all good. But, it finally started catching up with him. One night he walked into lineup, and his rear end was dragging 10 feet behind him. And he goes up to the sergeant and says, hey, can I partner up with somebody? And the sergeant said no. And we had the staffing. He could have done it. He's just being an ass. Later on that evening, he's coming back to the substation. He's coming down East Spire Boulevard behind the sub. And you know where I'm talking about, Dave, the hill coming down by Buyer Elementary toward the back end of the old substation, that big curve.
Yeah.
He fell asleep as he's coming down the hill. He hit the guardrail, hit a couple of private vehicles. Instead of, saying, okay, you damaged the car, this sergeant actually wrote him up for dereliction of duty and whatnot. I mean, and he was given, he went to him and said, hey, I'm not getting any sleep. As a supervisor, we should be looking for these signs, okay? And if we can do it, let's make sure if the guy's too sleepy to work or he's too tired, send him home. Why keep him out there? I mean, it's a shit show waiting to happen.
Right now with this time of the year, guys are trying to work overtime, try to make the money for the kids and all that. We're working double shifts, time and a half. We look at the money is good. And this is when it happens right here. Sleepy and improper rest. We're not getting enough rest. And we see it a lot. So,
yeah. One of our canine guys, it was during the RNC. They were working the canines 24/7. He lived out into the county, and he got home one morning with his dog, and his routine was to let the dog out, let it do its business, and then put him in his kennel. He was dog-ass tired. He went inside the house, and he sat down, and that was his first mistake. He sat down. And within 2 seconds, he was asleep. And he left the dog in the car. And the dog died. And they actually tried to prosecute him for animal cruelty and whatnot. He wasn't convicted of it, but he never returned to the canine unit. So, relaxing too soon.
Yeah, explain that one. When you wrote it and I wrote it up, I was going, relaxing too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell me, what is it?
Relaxing too soon. Not knowing what's going on around you.
Okay.
It's like, what? The example I used to use was, okay, you roll up on a gang fight and, everybody's FIing everybody. And I actually saw this happen. We roll up in gang fight and some little females were there and they're looking all nice and stuff. And one young officer, a brand new officer too. And one of them looks over at him and goes, you're cute, officer, da, da, da. And he goes, oh, shucks, yeah. And he's starting to put his hands in his pockets. Look him in the back. Get your freaking hands out of your pockets and pay attention. and and whatnot. The time to relax is when you're on your way home, or when you're at home, and with on the way home without having a 40 in between your legs and drinking that on the way home.
So did you mean being complacent?
Yeah, being complacent, and then just like, you're not seeing, and it comes up here in a little bit, the danger signs. It kind of ties into that. You're in, the different conditions. There's white all the way to black. You're always in condition white, where, it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm okay. I can do this. Da, da, da. You're not reading what's going on around you. And,
how would you go ahead? I was going to ask you, Benny.
Okay.
How would you explain this one, Benny? What example would you give on this one?
You've been to the call so many times, you're relaxing. It's the same people, the same story, and this time it's gone to shit, especially on your domestic violence calls. You've been there so many times, and this time it's bad, and you're relaxing because you know the couple, you know the people. Or you're going to a call, the bank robbery alarm call, or the 211 alarm call, and it's a chronic, and you show up and you're relaxing, you're just walking up there like nothing, parking the car in the wrong spot because you're lazy to get out of the car and walk, so you roll up all the way to the scene, that's just relaxing. You're just relaxing too soon.
Primary example is the 4 or 5 burglar alarm that you've been to, I don't know, 120 times in one shift, It's that 122nd time that's going to get you.
That was a good example. Good example. Yeah.
So let's go to the next one. Missing the danger signs. Okay. You got to know how to read people. If you're over there and you're talking to somebody and they're looking at you and they're looking at your gun and they keep looking back at you and they're looking at your gun, what do you think they're going to go for? They're going for your gun. Or you're talking to them and they're looking not at you, but through you. That should be an indicator that something is going to happen. Or they're looking around, you're talking to them and they keep looking around, they're going to bolt. I mean, watch some of these shows. I can tell by the person's body language, this guy's going to take off running. Yep. And sure enough, boom, off he goes.
Oh, yeah.
David, Sean, that's why I always said I was a field training officer for many years in patrol, and I saw the best guys coming out, guys that were coming out of the Department of Corrections that were becoming becoming deputies, the guys that came from the jail from working 5 years in the jail, the guys that came from other agencies that had jails. Those guys were always more onto it because they knew the game. They knew how to read people. They know how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll tell you guys right now, Warden Ayers, I mean, he hit the nail in the head. He says Sean is spot on, but this is what it means: losing situational awareness.
Yes.
You know what I mean? God, I mean that explains it. Losing situational. Thank you, Warden Ayers, for watching the show and for giving us that tremendous insight. That's very, very true. And going back to the danger signs, we have Dennis Hauser once again. Preparing your shift starts when you're getting ready to leave the house.
True.
Very true. Very true. That's
true.
where it starts. Yes.
True.
But you're absolutely right, Sean. I mean, when you've been a cop for a good while, and we got one of my best friends, man, Roger Dempshot. Good show, boys. Thank you for being always with us.
Roger was a good street cop. Very, very good street cop.
He was a good detective, a good gang detective. He knew all those guys. We got to get him on the show. Roger, I had my other show, he talked about PTSD, his PTSD. We got to get him on, and I want him to talk about that. Man, great cop. With that said, guys, missing danger signs. I remember as a man a gangster, I mean, you knew they were going to run, right, Benny?
Mm-hmm.
You knew. I mean, as soon as you would be watching him, he'd be looking to the right and to the left. Dude, that was your chance to grab him because the next thing you know, he was gone. You know what I mean? Those are the danger signs. You know what I mean? When I worked the joint, when I walked in the joint, when I'm walking the yard, I mean, you immediately knew, okay, why isn't this guy here? Why do we have more Mexicans out here more than ever? Why do we have more blacks than ever? Why are the whites are supposed to be there? They're over here. I mean, those are all danger signs. Whether you're a cop or you're a correctional officer, I mean, you need to be aware of your surroundings. And when you're talking to somebody, you need to be looking at the hands. You need to be looking at the eyes, because the eyes tell you what their next move. What their next, I mean, literally, their eyes, when they're shifting, hey,
They're
you know
telegraphing.
what? Come down.
They're telegraphing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. They're telegraphing. So, yeah, those are all danger signs, man, that people nowadays, for whatever reason, forget to watch. And that's when they get hurt. When they get hurt. What was one of your major danger signs, Benny, when you were working patrol? What were the things that you were looking for?
When I walked up to people, they're scanning. They're scanning to see where they're going to run.
Mm-hmm.
And they're scanning to see if there's any backup coming up right away. So when I saw that, I usually put them on the ground right away. Have a seat on the curb. Get on the curb. Cross your legs. Stretch your legs out. Cross them. Get them. That's where I had the advantage. You know, and if they were going to get up, I had the advantage to put them back down again right away. I mean, it's no bullshit. I mean, you're stopping guys for a reason. This is not a friendly conversation that you're having with your buddy. You know,
it's not. Let's make a deal.
Yeah.
And you know what, Sean? I think cops today are afraid because of all these damn videos. Everybody has a camera. But you know what? When I used to work the joint, we used to always say, at the end of my 8, I'm going to hit that gate. And as a cop, I would say, at the end of my 10, I'm going to go home. At the end of my 10, you know what I mean? We're working the 410 plan. Cops have to get back to that mentality. You know what I mean? And Benny, when you said whether I had enough to detain him or not, I felt it. I knew something was going to happen. I'd say get on your knees or get on the ground or wherever. You know what? Cops need to get back to that. Explain it later, but go home after your 10-hour shift. Yeah. Go home after your 8-hour shift. Explain the video later. You need to worry about yourself in that moment and forget about cameras.
And you know, David, that comes a lot from experience, from working the joint and working jails. You know the game. You know, they con you when you're in the jail. You're constantly getting conned. So you know the game. You know the players. You know the BS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like what Dennis Hauser says. If 2 of you are there and you have a guy sitting on the curb, one of you better be standing behind the crook. Because the second the dispatcher says no record, that name and date of birth, the chase is going to be on. Because he knows that he gave you the wrong name and he's ready to grab it. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, next one up.
Okay, next one. Man, this one right here has so much. Hopefully, cops that are watching, they're really learning about the danger signs because they know what it is.
You know what? Honestly, Dave, I don't know if the younger cops out there today know the danger signs because it's not being taught. It truly is, like Benny said. I don't know if these 10 deadly errors is even being mentioned in the academies anymore.
Well, hopefully,
I knew officers that had this thing listed in their locker.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, remember? So
yeah. And Benny, sometimes you just said right now too, Benny. Sometimes it's what you feel. You know what I mean? I mean, there was one guy that we were patting him down, and I just had a feeling that something was going to go wrong. And as I'm coming down, I didn't have enough to arrest him. As I'm coming down, he takes off, and as he's running, he pulls out a gun. Luckily for me, the gun misfired. I'm literally right behind him, chasing him down an alley about 3 o'clock in the morning in Sherman Heights, and luckily the gun misfired. And I mean, it's just those feelings that you get. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you got to go by those feelings, you know? When
the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, there's a reason for that.
Exactly.
And it goes back to when we're Neanderthals and we're hunters and gatherers, and the big dinosaur or the big, saber-toothed tiger was the hairs on the back of our head stood up. And it's an instinctive thing. That's telling you something is not right here, and you better be looking for it.
And like Dennis says, I'm with you, Dennis.
Trust your gut.
Yep. That little voice in the belly says something is wrong. It probably is, without a doubt. Thank you, Dennis, for that. You should have been on the show for this one, Dennis. All right, bad positioning. Okay. That's another great one.
That's another great one. You're talking to somebody and you're standing there face to face with them. You're not bladed. You're not in the quote unquote FI stance. 45-degree bladed with your gun away from the subject. Standing when you're talking to somebody, they're in the street, and you're standing on the chalk block on the curb line above them. Walking up onto a stopped vehicle. And I love my CHP brothers, but they come up on the passenger side, and we've seen all the videos. In fact, Benny sent us one, which is really hard to watch, on the New Mexico deputy or New Mexico state trooper that was shot, and that could be a whole show right there. Misinformation and whatnot, and the way he handled it, and he's got his pumpkin right in the window, in the passenger window. You don't do that. You stand behind the pillar. You don't walk up into the window. And again, I would say, watch some of these live cop shows or cops or whatever, and watch what they do. You'll end up yelling at the TV, because I do. Why are you doing that?
And Sean, when I went through phase training, one of my best phase training officers, who's now a chief of police, I believe, somewhere in Eureka, Todd Jarvis was my training officer.
Yeah.
This is back in 88. I went to the academy. By the time I had him was probably January of 89. He was my training officer out of Central Division. Things, Benny, that he taught me in 89, I still practice them today. Mm-hmm. One of the things that he taught me was, when you're working, I don't care how cold it is, if it's pouring down rain and you're going through the hood, always keep your windows down.
Windows down.
And listen to the guns.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that he said, whenever you pull up to a light or you pull up to a stop sign and there's a car next to you, pull up directly, angle it behind them. Never pull up in front of them or next to him. Pull up behind them. And you know what? Always position yourself. And I still do that today. Mm-hmm. And the third thing that he taught me was, the third thing that he says, on a traffic stop or when you're calling to assist somebody, when you pull behind them, always get out of your car and go around your car and contact them.
And then come up on the side that way.
Yeah. Never cross between two cars, because he's going to run you over. Dude, even today, I still practice that. Not that I'm stopping anybody, but if I'm going to get out of my car and there's a car in front of me, I always go around through the back. I always do that. Those are things that people need to remember. This is back in 89.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. And Todd, if you're watching the show, thank you. You were probably one of the best training officers, and I still practice what you taught me back in 89. I don't have I don't know how long that was, 40 plus.
Go ahead, Benny.
Bad positioning, there was something that San Diego PD was doing in the 90s when gang violence was in the increase all over San Diego, where everything was really popping, drive-bys, those vans with the sliding doors. San Diego PD used to get distracted, and they always had foot pursuits. They always had shit going down, fights, because they were contacting large groups of gang members.
Yeah.
And everybody got busy searching, and nobody was covering.
Never was covering.
So when finally San Diego PD, I guess somebody got together and said, you know what? Let's put a gunner on the sidewalk. So they were doing a pat-down, and you had a guy walking the street, covering the street for a drive-by, for bad guys coming in. And the sheriff, we started doing it in Lakeside, and I'm sure Vista started doing it. All the hot spots in in San Diego, Lemon Grove, all those. We all started doing it. We all started. Hey, somebody coming up, take the shotgun, cover the sidewalk.
We took over. Weekend morphed into Special Enforcement Division, and we're the uniform gang guys, and we had regular patrol guys that worked SED. And the SWAT guys, basically, we were there. We got out of the car. We rode around with a weekend guy or a SED guy until we all got morphed into it. And our job was to get out of the car with the MP5 or with the HK94 and just stand there.
Yep,
I remember that. Yeah.
And that went really well until somebody in the administration got kind of pissed off. But anyways, that's a totally different show. Failure to wash the hands. This is a biggie. If someone's going to hurt you, unless they're Bruce Lee and do a roundhouse kick upside your head, they're going to have to use their hand. So you always watch the hands. That's why we have people put their hands up on the steering wheel or on the back of their head. You control the hands. Okay. It's that simple. If they keep wanting to put their hands in their pockets, there's a reason they want to put their hands in their pockets. They've got contraband in there. They've got a weapon they don't want you to see or find. A prime example is back in the day, they had a TV show called The Real Stories of the Highway Patrol, and they're following this highway patrolman, and he rolls up in East Los Angeles. He's got some cholos by a car, and he's telling him to get down on the ground, and and he's kind of being apathetic about it. He's kind of like being a low key kind of guy and not giving commands. And there's one chunky monkey, and he decides he's going to walk away, and he's telling him, "Hey, come back over here." And the guy's basically flipping him off, saying, "F you, I'm not listening to you." And then you hear another loud, commanding voice tell this guy to get his ass on the ground, and they put him on the ground. And the guy had his hand in his pocket the entire time. They pull out a .45 auto out of his front pocket. And later on, this one officer, this chippy, goes, "Oh, I didn't think he'd have a gun on him. Are you kidding me? You're in East Los. They're gang members."
Forget about East Los. It can happen anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah. But the situation again. He's got his hands in his pockets and he's not listening to you. So always watch the hands. Always watch the hands.
Well, I'll tell you. I don't know about you, Benny, but when I was working, Logan Heights, Southeast, or wherever I was at, even when I was working down at the border for that year and a half that I got in trouble, they sent me down there, dude. Every time I'd make a traffic stop, and the guys in the car or the females, no matter what, put their hands up on the roof of the car, I knew they were from LA. Those people were trained, man. I mean, and then I would come up, okay, you know what? Go ahead with your left hand. Go ahead and give me your wallet. They'd give it. I go, "What part of LA are you from?" "Oh, we live in North Hollywood, or we live in East LA. We live in, Alhambra, whatever." Dude, for whatever reason, I don't know about you, Benny, but everybody from LA, you pull them over, hands always went up. Hands always went up. Not San Diego, not Chula Vista, but LA. Yeah.
We pulled a car over downtown. We were in special enforcement, and we walk up, and all of them had their hands up. LA. And the guy had his hand on the thing, and I walk up and said, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Grape Street."
That's right.
Yeah, Grape Street Crip. Yeah, all right. Well, welcome to San Diego. Anyways, Tombstone Courage. Tombstone Courage. Good movie, crappy pizza. Also, it's also been referred to as the John Wayne syndrome. Don't ever badmouth John Wayne. This is where, and we've all had these people on our squad. We've all seen these people out in the field. They can handle anything. They don't need cover. I don't want to say one riot, one ranger. But these are the guys that they'll just go and handle a call all by themselves, or they'll make traffic stops without putting the location out. As a traffic sergeant, I had one guy that was notorious for this, and I don't know how many times I came very close to writing him a reprimand. You got to put this stuff out, and he'd been allowed to do it for so long. It was like putting your finger in the dike. He's not going to change. And, thank God nobody got hurt. But we've all had those guys. And I know you guys have seen these guys and gals.
But you know what, Sean? It's not only Tombstone Courage. I see it as Tombstone. They're tough. I see that. And I know you don't want to say John Wayne, but we're going to call it the Batman syndrome. You don't want to use John Wayne, even though we all use it. But it's also the suicidal cops. And I'm going to say those that are going through a divorce, those that want to die. And you may say, well, I was one of them. I went through that stage where, you know what, I was too chicken to kill myself and I wasn't going to do it. But you know what, any situation that would put me in harm's way because I didn't want to live at the time. This is early in my career. You read my book, I talk about that. Mm-hmm. Those officers, and because of what I went through, whenever I was a sergeant, patrol sergeant, and I was a detective sergeant. Whenever I had an officer that was going through a divorce, and I knew they were going through a divorce, they had kids, dude, my eyes were on them. I would counsel them. I would be with them. There's one guy that I even transferred out of narcotics because of that, because I knew not the temptation, but I knew what he was going through at the time. And as a sergeant, you need to be looking not only for the tombstone, the guy who thinks he's Superman, but you also got to look for that guy that's going through a divorce, that's going through a hard time, that is doing things that he never did before. You got to be looking as a sergeant and as a patrol officer, look at your brothers that are going through divorces. That's what gets us killed because of those type of cops.
Bobby just mentioned guilty at times. Yeah. Same here, Bobby. Same here. And here's an example. You know, you go and you clear a lineup and you get in your car, you log on, and all of a sudden, you know, back when we didn't have MDTs, you know, is there a unit, you know, we got call stacking. Dispatcher's got 3 pages of call stacking. And, you know, they're getting pressure from their supervisors to clear their screen. And, you know, one night our dispatcher sent an officer on a 459 on a burglary alarm at a industrial area. And I got on the air as a sergeant and said, negative, wait for a cover unit. And she goes, well, you know, we need to clear this call, da, 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 da. And I said, negative, we're going to wait. And I get a message from her on the MDT saying, you want to come down here and do my job? And I sent her a response, I'll be down there after I clear this call. And then finally I got a hold of her and I said, I understand what you're going through. You know, they're getting a lot of pressure to clear the screen. You know, you wait for your cover unit. Okay. You're rolling up on a call and Benny's mentioned it. And we've mentioned it in this show before. Domestic violence calls. Okay. You sit out there and you wait for your cover unit. And that's just the bottom line, period.
Dennis Hauser, that's a really good one. Dennis, you mentioned that video. I've seen that video. I wish we could show it on. I wish I have it. We didn't show it because I think there's some rules regarding YouTube, what we can, we can't. But I've taught a lot of classes on that video you just mentioned. But he also says, if you take custody of a guy from another officer, search him. If your buddy gets butt hurt, that's too bad. No one gets in your car or you take custody of them unless they are searched. 100% with you, Dennis.
Yeah, 100% right.
Preoccupation.
And this actually happened not too long ago. I think it was last year. 2 New York PD officers got shot and killed responding to an incident. They're walking through a tight hallway onto a domestic violence, and the guy comes back up around them and ends up shooting and killing both of them. One officer, I believe he's a younger one, had just had an argument with his wife before he came to work. What do you think his mindset's at?
Wife.
Yeah, his mindset's on the argument. And like Dave said, you know, with the divorces and all that, you got to know your people. And I don't know if Dave has been accused of this. I was actually accused of being too close to my squad. I said, well, I got to know my people. I need to know, you know, I can tell when something's not right. So if you have a guy coming to work and he's late or he's constantly late, or, you know, there's a change in his personality, you know, pull aside and find out, hey, what's going on? And if you can send him home or refer him to Focus, you know, the psychological services to go see a doctor or his priest, clergy, do that. Okay. Don't let it fester. You know, back in the day when we came on, you ask for help, you're not getting shit. Go 10-8 and start handling radio calls. And that was it. It was all about taking care of those calls. So preoccupation, if you got something going on in your personal life or whatnot, you know, let your supervisor know. If you know one of your partners is in a bad way, let your supervisor know or get them the help that they need, especially in times like right now, Benny said earlier.
You know what Roger says? That's how I had my bad accident. Got into an argument with the lieutenant. My dumbass went back out in the field rather field rather than going home. He got it. Roger got into a really, really bad accident. He's still suffering today with his back and his different parts of his body. And it was an on-duty accident. But you know what? He's absolutely right. Get your head in the game. Because you know what? Roger got hurt this time, but the majority of the time, it's your partner or somebody else that gets hurt because your head's not in the game.
And Roger brings up a good point, too. Yeah. Unfortunately, through my career, I've worked with some really good supervisors, people I would follow into hell, and I've worked for some really shitty people. And I know exactly what Roger is saying. You know, you get into an argument with your lieutenant, you know, or your sergeant or your captain, and it's just like, okay, they have control of your career and they're pissing you off for a reason, you know, and then you're going out there and you're trying to make, you know, life and death situation decisions and whatnot. And it's, you know, it's not a good circle anyways. Okay. Apathy.
Hey, let me tell you a real quick incident that I had with me with Preoccupation. I get to work, you check your mailbox, and you got the little fucking white envelope that says confidential. Those that work the sheriff department know what that envelope means. It's an IA investigation. And you open up that thing, and now you're being told you're under investigation. You have an internal affairs investigation. So I remember one day, you know, and I got several of those, but I remember one day working Lakeside, I get one of those, and I'm just thinking about it. I know what the incident is, and I get a call of shots fired, man with a gun at a house. It's the domestic violence, and I'm not thinking. So I rolled up all the way to the guy's front door, and there's the guy. I never even saw the guy sitting right there on the porch with a handgun, and luckily there was already a unit on scene, and he yells at me, "Benny, get the fuck out of there!" And I turn around to look, and there's a guy on the porch just looking at me with a gun. Yeah, I'll never forget that day. I mean, I was just not thinking. My mind was someplace else that I really, you know, I mean, it happens to all of us. I mean, you know. Yeah.
Hey, Benny, was there shots fired? Did the guy, you guys end up getting into a big shootout with the guy?
No, I got out of there real quick, and finally the guy just surrendered, gave up the gun. But it was thanks to my partner being there and seeing that I got out and got right in front of the house. I mean, you don't roll up in front of the house. And I just was not thinking. I rolled up all the way to the front of the house, got out of the car, and didn't even see the guy.
Roger says, at least you got the envelope, Benny. IA usually came to the station for me.
That happened to me too, you know.
And then Dennis, this is a good one too. If you leave it in your box long enough, they go away.
You know, actually, you know, that's part of the thing too. You know, working on the department, you're admin and like, you know, investigations and stuff. You know, I went from being a witness officer to being the prime subject officer on something I wasn't even there. I had to prove it to IA I wasn't there. So, anyways, another story. Apathy.
This is the last one.
Last one, apathy. It's just, you just don't have give a shit attitude, really. You know, it's just these are the people around you that are going to get you killed. They beat to a different drummer. You know, it's just they just don't give a shit. You know, you're over there, you're setting up a perimeter, and you got this clown walking around right in front of you, just like and he'll just walk right into the perimeter and whatnot. So, yeah, this one is not a good one at all. And we've all had these people on our squads. They just don't give a shit. They just have a crappy attitude.
And you know what? We know who they are. Yeah. And it's usually some of the older vets that hate administration, that hate their job. You know what? If you hate your job, quit.
Yeah,
go find another job somewhere else. You know what I mean? And I used to tell some of those guys, once I had a couple of years on, you know, at first, I mean, I was that guy that was always real quiet. But once I had, you know, 5, 10, 12 years, and I would run into those guys, say, you know what? If it's that bad, quit.
Yeah.
Go back to Iowa. Go back to
Tombstone Courage.
Go back to
Courage. Yeah. Tombstone courage starts when you get your first star on your name tag. 5 years. That's when okay, you know it all. Apathy is probably between, I would say, 7 and 10 years. The honeymoon phase is over with, and you've established yourself, and then, things happen. And again, and I know that Bobby Lopez can attest to this, and we've talked about this on several occasions. Dealing with shit out in the field wasn't as bad as dealing with shit from administration and supervisors internally. That caused more, for lack of a PTSD or stress than anything else.
Yeah.
I can handle the shit out in the field.
Yeah.
I didn't need to be lied to and called on the carpet for shit that,
And you know what was
really
worse, Sean? You just mentioned those same, I'll call them assholes, that were cops that hated their job. For whatever reason, they were good test takers. They would take the test, then they become sergeants, and they hate their job. They hate being a supervisor. Then they become lieutenants. Then they become captains. And I guess that was a plateau. They would never make assistant chiefs or chief, at least in my department. But we knew who those guys were. You know what I mean? We had no respect.
But they still can control your career.
Very cynical. Well, very cynical. Always pissed off at the world. Everybody's bad. You know what? If it's that bad, fucking quit. Go.
I had a captain come up to me, a new captain at my division, and he goes, "Yeah, I've heard about you." And okay, great, And it wasn't good. And he goes, "I bet you, Murphy, I bet your IA file is this thick." And I go, "Actually, it's not, Lieutenant or Captain. It's probably about this thick."
Yeah. And that's Roger's right. They did a study, and it was proven that 1021, the supervisor, was the most stressful call we handled. Very true, Roger.
Very true.
Especially we had that supervisor who was lazy as a patrol officer, then became a supervisor.
Or the station or the radio or the dispatcher telling you 1019 the station to see your supervisor.
Yeah. or the worst one was 1019 the watch commander's office.
Yeah. But it is what it is. But you know what? We learned them, and we pray that the officers today, you could tell what our buttons are. To me, my button was lazy officers that they should have never been police officers. You know what I mean? Yours, John, are captains or lieutenants.
Sergeants, captains, and lieutenants.
Yeah, they were bullies. And Benny's, yours are crooks. You know what I mean? But
I had my assistant chief. Pretty much when I had the K9 unit, my assistant chief, he pretty much left me alone. He also had traffic and the motors and all that, and he would go after traffic and the motor, especially the motor guys. And God love them, they all had attitudes. But anyways, one day he got a hair up his ass, and I saved your career, Murphy. Nobody wanted you. Da 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 da. And I go, where the hell is this coming from? And he goes, when you show, I'm getting complaints from lieutenants and captains. When you show up at scenes, you take them over. And Dave, you've seen me at critical incident scenes. And I said, well, if you start hiring people or promoting people that knew what the fuck they were doing, I wouldn't have to be doing that now, would I? And I'm not going to apologize for that.
Yeah.
So,
hey, well, Murphy, he says, Roger says he's got you. When he retired, they had to move out a IA sergeant that was assigned only to him. and Bob Lopez, you're right on. If you violate any of these deadly areas, survived, just means you were lucky. And I think we all did.
And we all did, Bob. Everybody did. Yeah, we all did.
And Dennis Hauser, there's a guy at Long Beach PD who came on in '64. Next year, he'll be 60 years on. Oh, my God. Still works. Swing shift patrol. He has an amazing attitude. Right on. Great for him. Goes to work every night. Still wears his helmet. What a damn legend, man. A legend. Yeah. Wow.
David, I hope the people, the cops that are listening, don't think that we're just a bunch of smartasses. I mean, we live the talk. We live the talk.
That's right.
We've done these
That's right.
mistakes. That's why we're talking about it. We know about this stuff. Don't think that we're just trying to, we're not those kind of people that just talk about it because we read it in the book or we saw a movie. We actually lived it and we actually experienced it. That's why we're talking about it. That's why we thought it was important to bring it up and talk about this subject.
Could you imagine we'd have Chalo here? Oh my God,
geez.
Chalo probably has 1,000 stories. Just like, and dude, we didn't even touch. Today we broke a record. We've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. And Hauser's still watching us. Lopez is still watching us. Demshock's still watching us. I mean, people are still watching because you know what? You're absolutely right, Benny.
Yeah.
We lived it.
We
lived it. I lived it for 30 years. Sean, you lived it 30 years?
32.
32. Benny, you lived it for 45 years.
40, yeah.
42 years, and I loved every minute of it, even when I fucked up.
And me too. Me too.
Yeah.
My father used to say, if you love what you do, never work a day in your life. And you know what, guys? I never worked a day in my life because I loved every day, and I still miss it. But I loved every day.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And you know what's kind of ironic is I didn't like, when I was growing up as a kid in South Bay, I did not like the San Diego Police Department. I didn't like the officers. I thought they were assholes. And I never wanted to be in law enforcement. And in fact, it was because of the Archie Bug shooting. A friend of mine who lived around the corner from me, they were talking about 1 officer, 2 officer cars. And he said, hey, let's become cops. We'll go in as a buddy system. And I go, it's not the friggin' Army, dude. You know, they don't do that. And he ended up joining the Coast Guard, and I ended up falling into the San Diego Police Department. Yeah.
Dude, I was the opposite. I grew up since I was 5 years old. I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a cop my whole life, and that's what kept me away. I grew up in a gang-infested area.
Oh yeah,
you know what? A drug-infested area. And you know what? That's what kept me away from gangs, from drugs, from everything, because I knew that one day I was going to be a police officer. That's what
I wanted to be Adam 12 growing up.
Did you? I wanted to be Dragnet.
Then he wanted to be a cowboy. He wanted to be a cowboy.
Hey, guys, man, what a great show. But with that said, guys, we want to wish everybody that's watching the show Merry Christmas. Be safe. And what a blessing. Guys, anything else? Man, it was a great show. It was a minute and 22 minutes. Man, it went by fast.
You know, David, what I'd like to do is I know that just like us on the street, we have all these screw ups that we do. I know that the Department of Corrections, the prison guards, have their 10 deadly errors too. It would be kind of cool to have either Brian Perry or Hector Bravo come on the show.
Oh, Hector would be good too.
Hector
would be real good.
The deadly errors in working the big house, working prisons.
Well, you know who'd be great too to have Warden Ayers.
Yeah.
Have him come on too. I mean, talking about the 10 deadly errors, but you know what? Not only as a correctional officer, 10 deadly errors of a warden.
Yes.
Could you imagine having one the 10 deadly errors of a warden, and then having maybe Manny Rodriguez, former chief of police in National City, maybe he could talk about the 10 deadly errors
Manny.
Chief of police.
Yeah.
Of a chief of police. Oh, that's great idea, Benny. Great idea. Yeah, that'd be good. We'll bring Bravo and Brian Perry. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, you know what? Time's gone by fast. We want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, but Benny, your last words, Benny.
Well, let me tell you who's coming up next week. Well, next week we're going to be off for Christmas. So we're coming back in January 2nd. Joining us is going to be Robert Arce. He's a retired Phoenix police detective. Robert started his career in 1981. Robert became a patrol officer in some of Phoenix's most violent neighborhoods. You know that there's a lot of shit up in Phoenix. Phoenix was known as the what is it? The kidnapping capital of the United States.
Oh yeah.
So by the mid '80s, he worked undercover narcotics, street gangs, the Mexican drug cartels, human trafficking, anti-kidnapping unit, and assignments with the DEA task force and the FBI's violent street gang task force. You know, Robert retired in 2005. And after retirement, he just didn't give up. He just didn't hang the holster up and put the gun away. I mean, he worked outside the U.S. Robert worked in Mexico, Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, Iraq, Haiti, just to name a few. You know, Robert has a very impressive resume. and an extensive investigative experience. So Robert's going to join us in January. So it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, we're going to work on Brian Perry, the warden, and Hector Bravo, and see if we can get them to talk to us about the deadly errors of a prison guard and the Department of Corrections.
And a warden. The 10 deadly errors of warden.
Yes.
Warden.
Warden.
Great. And you know, Benny, Robert was on my show twice. My other show, Sheepdog Assist. I worked with Robert. I was assigned to Mexico for 7 weeks to the U.S. Embassy. There, I was going to be one of the gang coordinators. And I worked with Robert in Mexico. He was in Monterrey at the time. And that's when I met him back in 2014, June of 2014. I was there in Mexico City, and I would get together for dinner with him. That's where I met Robert back in 2014. Great guy, man. I am totally looking forward. It's going to be a great show. I know, very good show. With that said, Benny, your last words.
Well, like I said again, for those that listen, don't take it hard. We lived it. We were there. So we're not coming at you from after reading a book or watching a movie. I mean, we were there. Stay alert, man. This is the month, December. I remember going to briefings and they always brought it up. Good supervisors always brought it up. Watch your six. Wait for backup. Watch those domestic violence. People are upset. The economy is the shit. People don't have money. They're stressed. Their jobs are bad. And here's Christmas. And here's the kids. They want toys. They want gifts. It's hard. It's very, very hard for people to. A lot of people just can't handle this. And that's when suicides go up. The man with the gun call comes up, and the bad domestic violence calls come up. So stay alert, man.
Hey, Sean.
And to piggyback on what Benny said, even with law enforcement, this is a tough time for law enforcement right now, especially during the Christmas and the holidays. Depression sets in. Again, you're separated from your family. You're going through a divorce, like you said, Dave. Take care of each other. Take care of each other. And be safe, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.
Remember, the bottle and the gun's not the answer, guys.
Exactly. Or the bottle.
That's so true. Definitely. Guys, on behalf of the Gray Line, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. If your mother's still alive, please spend as much time as you can. If your father's alive, please spend with them as much time as you can, with your kids, with your grandchildren. Enjoy every minute. Be safe. And just remember, man, that you know what? We'll see you next year. God bless you, and please be safe, and Merry Christmas. God bless you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
They saw a vehicle that matches a vehicle they're looking for involved in a shooting that occurred in El Cajon. So southbound 15 from the 8, there was a black Audi with no plates. It was about 5 years old. It was occupied by a black male, 25 to 30, driving at a very high rate of speed. And again, it closely matches the suspect vehicle involved in a shooting in Bradley and Magnolia. Suspect in that shooting was a black male, 6 foot, short curly hair, green shorts. He was armed with a shotgun. Again, that's a black Audi. They thought it was about 5 years old. No maker model and no plate given. Petitioning.
All officers, there's an officer shot. He's still breathing.
45th and University, 45th and University, 1199. I don't know who that is on there. Put it out. 45th and U. Somebody going. 1199, 45th and U. Is there a supervisor on there?
813 Sam from 4200 U.
13 Sam, 10-4.
Receiving a hot call about a citizen calling 45 University regarding 11-6, 1199.
We got him. We're on the way. 45th and University. 45th and University, 1199. I had a citizen on there saying that there was an officer shot. Somebody roll.
813 Sam, 1097.
813 Sam, 97 there. At 45th and U, 813 Sam there.
813 Sam, we need medics at 45th and University getting more information.
Okay, medics are en route to 45th and U. Confirm they're clear in. Let's roll in. One of ours, 813 Sam, and it's a Lincoln unit monitoring. Lincoln 3, are you in there?
610, we're trying to get this info now. Just have units keep responding.
Units continue to roll, 45th and University. We've got medics en route as well.
610, as the units roll up to start blocking off Shimon to Highland and the north and south streets here as well on 4-5.
Tempo block off Shimon to Highland and north and south on 45th Street.
Mostly we have Highland North.
HL's even got Highland on the north side.
34 Yellow, have an update.
834, go.
401. Known race, suspect driving a black, newer model Nissan Sentra, last seen eastbound on you.
Tempo Phoenix, the suspect vehicle is going to be a newer model Nissan Sentra, black in color, eastbound University. So the San Diego PD?
610, 10-9.
Is it one of our officers?
Firm. 823 Sam, I need medics. Make it to 45th and University. I got an officer down with a gunshot, one to the head near the left ear.
Okay. Clear. Does anybody see medics?
Negative.
60 Sam, go ahead.
Negative on finding.
I have a call that just came in from 4074 48th Street. Anonymous caller said that a guy by the name of Dejan, a black male wearing a t-shirt and jeans, owns a black Audi with rims, pulled into that location, told the RP that he was running because he shot a cop. Again, that's 4074 48, apartment number 7.
10-4, have all my CST units mount up here at the CP.
Okay, Mid-City CST units, make it the CP for this desk call.
6397.
4.
63 is Able, 10-4.
Abel, are you on the air?
Firmware 1097 checking. And if you have that RP, see if there's a clothing description or if the suspect vehicle is still there.
Okay, I had an anonymous RP, so I doubt we're going to get anything further from them. What they gave was a t-shirt and black jeans. They said that the vehicle is parked in front of the building, 4074 on 48th Street.
Hey, well, there might be a vehicle in the driveway there. Let's see if a unit can come take a look at it.
It might be a few minutes out. They're meeting up at the CP there, 44th and U. Abel, if you could just stay over that residence.
Well, let's have one of those units break immediately if this is a good possible.
13 around.
Okay, so 867, there's some patrolians. They're heading over to the desk call there on 48th Street.
10-4, we're heading over there with GSP as well.
Okay, 10-4.
284 Yellow, what was that address? I'm in route there also.
It is 4074 48th Street.
Even the apartment complex with a shotgun. They just put a shotgun in their driver's side. Let's expedite some units over here. There's a car that just parked southbound in front of the target address. Don't know if it's related. The person who put the shotgun and brake able, the vehicle is taken off. The driver has a shotgun in the vehicle, headed southbound 48.
Okay, leaving southbound on 48th Street, occupied vehicle now. The driver has a shotgun. Abel's watching it.
Well, units right in front of you. Use caution right in front of you. That vehicle coming at you.
Identify.
Keep the air clear. Driver's doors open. Well, shots fired.
More shots fired. That's going to be at 4000 48th Street. And shots fired, 4000 48th Street with the suspect vehicle.
Hey, we'll get units to Polk. Block it off. He's rolling backwards towards Polk.
The vehicles were... 31-10-9?
Well, vehicle's taken off. It's backing up, and it actually TC'd into an apartment structure.
Suspect vehicle TC'd into...
Watch crossfire.
Watch your crossfire. Was there only one occupant, Abel?
Well, firm, watch your crossfire. Watch your crossfire.
Watch your crossfire. Vehicle TC'd into a building, one male armed with a shotgun.
For officer safety, I need one unit to go to the target address and detain the person in that white car that pulled in front of the target address. Don't know if it's at all going to be related, but at least it's 1151.
74 48th Street is where the incident is now with the suspect vehicle.
Well, let's block off the street at Polk and 48th and 48th and University, and I want one unit to make it the 4074 48th Street and look at that car parked on that for the target address.
Do we have this guy in custody, Abel? Do you know?
Abel, there has been shots fired, so he's being detained.
10-4.
At least start medics.
513 Sam, any optics on that second shooting? We need a perimeter set to the east alley.
Okay, set the perimeter of the east alley. Is there anybody injured on the second incident on 48?
Yes, 30 Sam. Suspect is down. 1141, multiple gunshot wound.
Okay, suspect down, only the suspect, right?
Confirm, only the suspect.
Okay, only the suspect injured, and we're going to roll medics. 4048.
There's an officer in the east alley heading north on that black pickup truck. Stop right behind that black pickup truck. He was backing up at high speed in that alley. Just use caution going around him.
White pickup there, it might be about 60, go.
As far as Abel can tell, do we have an outstanding suspect here?
Abel, I saw that occupant get in that black Audi with the shotgun. It would be a good idea to go form a perimeter around the target address of 4074 48th and see if we can find a passenger.
Okay, but you only saw the one guy.
Have the units start setting up there? It'll be the west alley.